Hey, it's your boy Juice Jones, and today we're covering storytelling. As a company, story is told on three levels. The first level is the research and the sit down. The second level is the framing of the story that's being told and the pitch to the public. And level three is how people digest the story and the discussion that follows the story. Now, the reason this is significant is because I have so much content that's being made. Like in the last 5 days, I've had about 7 people come through and do an interview. And outside of like the who, what, and why of the story, I oftentimes think of the responsibility of the person who is covering the story, how the story will be pitched to the public or presented to the public, whether it be social media, YouTube, or just the dinner table. Hey, I have this thing, do you guys want to watch it? And the third is the conversation piece that happens after. Most folks think of a story and they're like, oh, I sat down, I had a story, I had an interview, this, that, the third. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but how is it framed? How do people digest it? And to me, we could just focus on the third part, and the third part in itself is so important because there's been so many times that folks have said, I watched an interview and my story related to that story, and I remember having something similar to that one moment when they said that and they went to that place. I was there. I've been there. And when it comes to storytellers, that's so important. It's important to, I don't want to say control your narrative, but it is important to understand the interviews that you sit down and have, the people that you talk to and the people you do work with. What direction is this going to push the work that you've done already? And does it help or hurt the direction that you are already on the path to going towards? So, for example, I'm making 2 shows that at the top of the year are going to be released. Like, some of them are being uploaded to YouTube right now. Shout out to my boy Marcus. And the reason I shot all the interviews is so I can have space to create 365 days worth of shorts. Now, the 365 days worth of shorts are my focus, and it's important because that's what the consistent content is going to be for folks, because it's like making a channel but making it fun and having about 10 to 12 different collaborations with people that I'm going to be working on when it comes to the shorts. But the interviews themselves are, in my head, amazing because I sit down every single time and I have these conversations. And not every conversation is the same. Every conversation is different. There are gems, there are magic moments. I get to learn so much about the people that I work with, or the folks I plan on doing work with, or people I've admired who are allowing themselves to come on my platform and sit and talk about what they've gone through, where they've been, or where they would like to go. And I learn so much, and after that, and they leave, and it's just me and the SD card, and we're sitting together. I think to myself, hey, how are we gonna shape this story? The angles that we put into it, did we zoom in at the important moments so the room can feel how this tidbit of information really like brought it closer, zoning in onto this person and who they've had to be in the past? I think of the language, like, hey, how's the sentence gonna be written for this person? How many sentences are people gonna be able to read and not lose interest? What platform is it gonna be written the same when it comes to Twitter versus Instagram versus YouTube versus TikTok? How do you make a long formatted conversation digestible for TikTok? How do you create consistency? Like, is it possible to break down a whole hour conversation and break that into little tidbits for TikTok and then pitch that out and create a story through this short narrative and then tell folks, hey, if you want the whole interview, follow me on YouTube. We have it right there. Or not even follow me, just find it on YouTube. It's on this channel. And that's so important and it's so relevant. And then after that third piece is out of our control. That's when, if folks want to have the discussion with me on why we're doing the show or what this means, or who do I reach out to for advice if I'm in this position, yeah, I could do that. But the conversations people are going to have behind closed doors, and the conversations, the content we create matters, especially the direction that it goes in, and it's so important when it comes to the storytelling aspect, because a lot of folks who cover stories, they think I'm just covering the story, I'm just creating content, it's just here. But for the person who sat down and they gave you their story, how do you maximize that space? How do you give them the best 2 weeks they've ever had? How do you really expand on the thought of there was vulnerability to the story, and this is a part of who they are. They don't get to edit that. When we sit down and we have interviews, I put the whole interview out. The only thing that's edited may be like, oh, we shouldn't have touched that topic, or oh, we agreed to not talk about that. But for the most part, the interviews I put out are the entire interviews. That's the actual flow of the whole conversation. That's the conversation itself that happened, whether it be 40 minutes, an hour, 40 minutes, an hour and a half. That is the conversation that's to be had. Because if you sat down and you had a conversation with this person, there's a high probability that's how it's going to go. So it's just so important to not only understand the power of a story, but also understand that you need to break the stories that you put out and the interviews you put out with a certain amount of care to really give it not just a good shelf life, but can it create legs for itself? Where does this story go? Are you putting it in the right rooms where it belongs? Are you using the right hashtags? Is this going to find a home in someone's ear? Are people going to be able to learn from this? Does this bring quality or add value to the community? And are you paying the story the right amount of homage? Because whether it's an interview, whether it's a documentary, whether it's a short film, whether it's a feature film, are you taking care of the moments correctly? So the power of a story. I guess I count as a storyteller with the stuff that I'm going to be coming out with, but this is something that I've been working on since about 2017. I had a couple of shows I wanted to put out. They didn't really take flight like I wanted them to. I got a chance to work with a couple of my friends. Shout out to Coop. We worked on Snack. Shout out to my boy Ryan. We did Under the Table, which is a show that was unreleased, which is something that I might put out. I might send it to my editor and be like, hey, there's this concept that I never brought to life and I'd really want to bring it to life. I'm bringing back those people from that show onto the other platform, which shows like if you build it, and I just continuously breathing life into the story that feel it has already lived. How do you moisturize the story? So this is a rant, of course, but it's just so exciting because sometimes I sit down and I don't want to say I learn more about myself, but it's enlightening the path and the lengths that I'm willing to go to see it done correctly. In the DMV, I think the only thing that's missing for now is great storytelling. I'd love to see great storytelling. I'd love to be corrected. I'd love for someone to reach out to me and say, hey, you can do a better version of this. This is what it looks like. Or I reach out to someone and I learn, and then I get on camera and I talk to you guys about it. So it's just so exciting because all stories are so much more. And I believe everyone has a story. So hopefully you can take that with you. I'm looking forward to see what everyone does with that from this point forward. But yeah, tell me your thoughts and comments. I guess this is peace.